Welcome to Roaming Minds.
We talk about the logic behind thinking and why it stops working the way you expected it to.
This season will follow one primary question. What happens when you do the thing that was supposed to make the thinking stop, but it just kept looping?
You wrote it down, you told someone, you put it on your calendar. Sometimes doing that works. Sometimes it just moves it somewhere else that still requires your attention.
We will explore this alongside expert guests this season in addition to our usual format. I'm AJ.
And I'm Carlos. Let's get into it. Welcome, guys. This week we have a special guest coming to the pod with us. His name is Kevin Jordan, and I'm going to give him the floor to kind of introduce himself and give us a little bit about his background.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all. So I'm Kevin Jordan. Let's see, my background, born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. Played some college tennis, and I joined the Navy. So I spent 6 years in Maryland. Joined the Navy to see the world, and I only got to see Maryland. So
Basically the world.
yeah.
You'll
so
be surprised by how many people have some weird connection to Maryland. Like 3 months ago, I was in an Uber, and the driver was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I told him I grew up in Maryland, went to University of Maryland, and then he's like, "Oh, I lived in PG County for 3 years when I was living with my dad." And I was like, "Out of all the places,
there you go.
why there?"
It really is like a melting pot. Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland area. That you get people from all over. But no, I've struggled with ADHD my whole life. Struggled with it in the Navy. I've struggled with it professionally. I struggled with it in high school and middle school. And as a kid, the solution was, hey, let's take some Adderall. Let's take some Ritalin. But that changed my personality. I kind of became a zombie. I think naturally extroverted. Or I think there's a new term called introvert, where you're comfortable being introverted. But anyway, and so I can stay at home for a week without leaving, and I'm perfectly comfortable. My wife makes fun of me for that all the time. But no, so I did not like taking the pills because I'd become very introverted. I wouldn't speak. I'd be just in my head. I remember in middle school, I counted how many times I blinked during the day, and it was like 13 during the school day. I was just staring. It's just because you're taking speed. That's effectively what it is.
Yep.
But what the medication doesn't do, or what I found as an adult, I would take it. It would help me focus for sure. And I think once you've been off it for a while and you take it for the first time, that first time you take it, you're like, oh my God. And you are so productive and you're so focused. But then it wears off. And I think it started interrupting my sleep. And so I could only, if I took it past 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, I would stay up. Brain would not shut off at night. And I wouldn't be able to fall asleep until 1 or 2, which was crazy. And it was with a low dosage as well. But then and as an adult, it would make me a perfectionist. I would be highly irritable, and around little kids, that's not, I have 2 sons that are 5 and one soon to be 8. And being highly irritable is not a good thing. And so I think what I discovered is like the medication, it doesn't change your underlying habits. If you already have a doom scrolling habit and you get caught in a YouTube loop or rabbit hole, you're still going to get caught in one.
Probably going to be 10 times worse.
Yeah. And so I discovered that the hard way. Entire days would be gone. I would go on a YouTube rabbit hole for 3-4 hours during the day. And then I'd be like cramming to get my work done. And then kids get home from school, wife gets home from work, and it's like, oh, I got a context switch now, but I'm still not done with work. So you can't. So they're home and you're supposed to be present with them, but you can't be present. And then you're stressed out because you're trying to get all your work done. And this should just be happening over and over and over again. And so anyway, ChatGPT came out, what was that, 2020, late 2022. And I was like everyone, you saw there like, oh my gosh, the world's about to change. And for me, as an engineer, the biggest constraint was development. For previous startups, I didn't have the time, so I'd pay for freelancers. And so now you have AI that can develop it for you. So I said, well, I think now is actually a really good time to go after this idea and just start building something to solve my own problems. So I checked out the other ADHD apps, and they didn't really do it for me. Um, but at the same time, I understood kind of the design decisions they were doing. And so I actually learned more about problems that other people with ADHD dealt with. And I would just deal with them, but in a different flavor. Anyway, so I started building out Actimate. So now it's a mobile app on Android and iOS, and we have a web app as well. And yeah, I wanted to be that place to help me. I wanted to build an experience, an app system to help you live more intentionally. Because I think there's nothing more painful than looking back at time wasted.
Mhm.
And I'm not just talking about, oh, you wasted 30 minutes checking out some YouTube video or being on X or Facebook or wherever. And I'm talking about hours. And then those hours turn into days, and then those days turn into months. And you look back and you're like, shit, did I just waste a whole year? If you add it all up, did you waste a whole year just looking at social media?
Mhm.
Like, what could you do with that time?
So much.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Right.
that's the mission of Actimate. Not just to help with your ADHD, that's primary problems, but also help you be more intentional with your time.
Mhm.
And if that's just like, hey, I just need a rest day and I just want to go do whatever, be spontaneous, follow my impulses, great. Just in the app, you can mark it. Today's rest day. um, but if you have goals and you have some ambition, you want to do things, I built it to help you there as well. So it's paired with AI, so it's able to track your goals, your action plans, your habits, and it's connected to your calendar, so it can help manage your time.
Mhm.
So yeah. Anyway, that's me in that kind of acting.
So it's super cool because indirectly you've kind of touched on everything that we discussed last episode, which which comes out this week, so it's not out yet, but nobody's seen it. But we were literally talking about last week. We were talking about that the process of kind of offloading our processes elsewhere, and from your description, it wasn't just an application that you tried to offload it to. You also tried to offload that into medication. We tried to bring in this outside source to kind of help us get in there and manage. And I can assure you, my experience with medication was almost down to a T similar. The only difference is I didn't stick with it that long. I was like 2 weeks, and then I was like, no, we're not doing that. But then you also mentioned intention, which was the subject of last week's episode primarily, was that that intentionality and how important that intentionality is for interacting just with anything in this day and age. The way that we kind of show up and the way that we approach the world around us becomes much different when we start acting with that intention, as opposed to just being like, oh, well, this is what everyone's kind of telling me to try, and I should go do that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I know you talked a lot about the kind of more younger years. What would a week of work look like before Actimate? And maybe without medication, were you trying productivity tools, or was it just kind of white knuckling it through, or how'd that kind of exist?
All of the above. Yeah, so it would be writing things down, having just like an actual checklist, whether it was a post-it note, whether I used to have a whiteboard on my wall, and I would just create like a little to-do list. Or it'd be the reminders app on Apple or Google Tasks, or it would be an Outlook. It'd just be and then, yeah, I would just white knuckle it. I'd forget things, and so just be in my head, and then something would happen, and I'm like, oh shit, and then I would remember it, and then I'd go through that. And so there's been periods where I'm super organized and I'm just going through everything. But what Actimate allows me to do is it allows me to track it over time. So, and not just that, but one of the things that I've had trouble with is I'll get distracted by something. Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a text, maybe I'm taking what's intended to be a 5-minute break. And I love YouTube because the algorithm gets me. Right?
Yeah,
And so
right.
I'll watch short, but then it'll be like 30 minutes go by, and now my mind is not on the task. So
Mhm.
with Actimate, what I did was I attached a Pomodoro timer to the task. And so then it's a live activity widget that starts right on the phone. Here, I can just, so it's, so like this one, I freaking, this was about, so here's the Pomodoro timer, and I don't need 30 minutes to complete this task. We'll just say it's 15 minutes. But then when I start it, so then some music starts going, then, there's a progress bar. But if I lock my screen, now it tells me, hey, here's the task you're working on. This is the time you set. Let me just pause that for now. Yeah. Speaking about starting things and forgetting that you need to do that, this freaking GitHub Enterprise license. I did not intend to renew my subscription or even to subscribe. It's like, oh shit, I got charged for that. And I need to go and figure that out.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah. So now it's meant to be my place for tracking my habits, my daily plan. I think something else I was, not to show the app all the time, but something else that I thought was very interesting was I had she was a neuroscientist as well, and she reached out to me on Instagram. She's like, the problem I run into is never feeling like I've done enough. And so I just keep working. She's a workaholic, and I'm a workaholic. Like, but, and it's weird to say you're a workaholic because I enjoy it. I enjoy work. I enjoy building a company and building products. So it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like work.
Right.
But, and maybe it's just a challenge, but a very simple thing. What would make today a success? So you
Mhm.
click on that, and it's just prioritization. And this you can click, this is a normal day,
Mhm.
rough day. Right? You just click, and then you set your win plan. And then Pia, the AI, can check in with you every 30 minutes or an hour or whatever you set it to.
Mhm.
But it's just those little things. It's all these tiny things. It's the Pomodoro timer. It's prioritization, helping getting started, tracking your goals over time, because you're going to set goals, and then 6 months later, you're like, oh shit, I forgot about this. I haven't been paying any attention to it, but at one point it was important to you. So anyway, yeah, so now my days, the unintentional time wasted has gone down. It's still not perfect. I still
Sure.
fall victim.
Yep.
But yeah.
As
it's
we
still,
all do. Yep.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we all fall
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
that.
But then the other thing that a recent problem I'm running into, I heard talking about this at the beginning, is being able to say no. It's not just to notifications and like your digital ecosystem, but with ADHD, yeah, y'all probably come across this. You just have 1,000 ideas. It's like shiny object syndrome.
Mhm.
And it's being disciplined enough to say, no, let me stick this one all the way through. And so what's happened with Actimate is, instead of focusing on marketing and, hey, I just spent a week or 2 weeks building out this feature, instead of focusing on showing that, now I'm going to go to the next feature.
Right.
And this has happened over and over again. And so now I'm deliberately saying, nope, I
Mhm.
need to, let me create a demo video. Let me create some social media stuff before I start on this other one. And so that's what I want to start building in to Activate, is helping people say no, not just to notifications, but to, let's talk through this idea you have. Really cool, but let's plan for it. When would be a good time so you can actually fully focus on this?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was I I get really frustrated with Claude and ChatGPT, because I suffer from the exact same thing with this. I love building. It's my favorite thing in the world. So I'm always inundated with fresh ideas. And I'm always arguing with Claude and ChatGPT because I've set them up to be like, do not let me drift from this idea. They'll be like, this is attention drift. And I'm like, no, it's not. Leave me alone.
But this is, dude, it's, there's so many, it's like a yin and a yang, right? When you're in a flow state and the ideas are coming and you're just connecting the dots, you don't want to be interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
No, so the Pomodoro, exactly.
That's what I was going to say. That's going to be my comment, that sometimes you have this moment where it's just one thing leads to another, and there's magic in it because it leads to, like, it might sound crazy in the moment, but once you start refining it, it's like this perfect solution to a thing. But it is, you know, you have to go through the whole cycle of jumping through several 10,000 ideas per minute in order to get there, when in reality, you do want to be more focused in order to finish the one thing at a hand and then move on to the next. But look, you need, it's a balance, as we talked about. Balance. You have to have both of them. Sometimes it's good to focus on the one thing, the one feature, as in your case, the one feature, market it. But sometimes it's good to go on the next feature because the next feature can actually inform the first feature, which you can then show together.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so it's really interesting. So like the web app, there's a little bit more features on the web app than the mobile app. So we have Teams on there, but we have the classic website blocker on there. We call it Focus Shield. And so and we're going to roll it out for the apps as well. But I had a comment from a user where they're like, I don't need a Pomodoro timer. I don't want it to stop and tell me to go to the next thing. I need more of just a stopwatch instead of a timer. So I was like, okay. So I added that on there because there's nothing more frustrating than dealing with an app and you're in the middle of flow state or you're hyper focused and it's like, nope, you stop me. But a lot of that just comes down to the user. Maybe this is just a tiny little thing that I shouldn't worry about. But anyway, you become obsessed about making your product the best it can be, right? So
right. Yeah. It's interesting because no matter the intention, we can still override it at any moment in time. We can sit there and I did it this morning because I had what I think is a really wonderful idea, because it kind of relates to what we've been talking about, is this whole concept of what information is actually important. I know I studied information sciences for my master's degree. So information to me is that base building block for all computing, really. And if we look at it from that information standpoint, we can really, at least for me, get closer to that first principles kind of thinking in terms of what is actually needed in this moment. But at the same time, we're in the age of AI where information is just being dropped on us at insane speeds.
Same levels.
There are days when I'm sitting there working and I'll get to the point where I won't even read the responses from Claude anymore because I'm like, I can't process any more information. Please stop. But I still have 2 hours worth of work to do that I need to get done. And so I'm cool with taking a break. I'm coming back, whatever. But at the same time, after coming back for 15 minutes or 10 minutes or however long, I'm still just, bam, there's no more space for anything.
Well, I think it's, especially in the age of AI now, there's a tyranny of optimization. There's a new AI tool every week. There's a new AI model every month or every 2 months. And you're constantly having to assess, can I use this to optimize my own process? Will this make me better? Will this make me faster? And it's happening so fast now, and you constantly feel behind.
Right. Yep.
Anyway, I think there's something to it. Are you all familiar with Cal Newport? He's author of Deep Work and Slow Productivity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm coming around more and more to slow productivity, but I don't know if it's congruent with being an entrepreneur.
So I started looking at it and taking the Apple approach. And so what I mean by that is Apple doesn't have their own AI. They didn't even bother. They didn't even jump into the race. They were like, nah, we're good. We're just going to sit back and wait for you guys to duke it out. And then we're going to go ahead and just adopt your model. And this is really just relevant to the multiple tools coming out, because I remember when 2022, 2023, when it was all starting, I'm switching tools every other day, being like, is this the right one? Is this the right one? Is this the right? And I was just like, this is insane. In 2 or 3 weeks, ChatGPT, Anthropic, they're all gonna catch up anyway, and they're gonna have their own version of it. So what am I jumping to this tool for? What am I jumping from place to place for when it's okay? And especially if you start subscribing to any of these, which the subscription prices are astronomical these days because that's just the going market rate. $20 a month is okay for one tool. $20 a month is okay for another tool, but $20 a month for 10 tools is a stupid amount of money at the end of the day, when I could just pay the $100 a month for Anthropic or for ChatGPT and get the same resources. I just have to wait a week. And I know when I was first building our initial prototypes, oh my God, my development workflow before Claude Code and everything was absolutely nuts. It's screenshotting my terminal and going through the list of errors, going back into ChatGPT and being like, hey, here's this. It has no context on my code whatsoever because MCP wasn't that big. And it was a nightmare, but I learned a lot about how to go ahead and get those things done in that moment. And so that's why I say, I think the better idea these days is just that idea of slowing down and seeing where the dust settles before just jumping on that new trend, which is hard when you have ADHD because the new shiny object over there looks really, really sweet and I want to play around with it.
Yeah. No, it's a continuous journey. And then there's the other things, the challenges of just being an entrepreneur, how to make your app and your experience sticky. And part of me in hindsight, are you an idiot for trying to make yet another to-do app and habit app? And there is an art to making a really good habit app, a really good to-do app. For anyone that simplifies it, I challenge you to make a really good one. Mm-hmm. Even with AI, you can go and copy it, but it's getting people to return to your app every day. They have to feel the value in it and that it's different or better than another's. And now you don't have to be best, but still, that's challenging in and of itself, regardless if you have ADHD or not.
Right. I remember I had that conversation with people in grad school because I went for human computer interaction. So app design was baked into our curriculum. And we were doing some thought process, just brainstorming thing. And somebody was like, they wanted us to design a teeth brushing app. And somebody was like, well, how do we make people want to use this every day? But how do we effectively hack their dopamine system? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the wrong question to be asking. That doesn't work. You have to build it into their habits in order to make that stick. And I'm telling you, people looked at me like I had 3 heads. They were like, nah, man, that's not a thing. We've got to reward them for using the app. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure clean teeth and no cavities are the reward for using that app. So you made a really important insight there is, are we even asking the right question? The question is way more important than the answer when you're coming up with a solution. And it's because if you ask the wrong question and you go down this long road to answer it, you wasted a lot of time. Right.
But that's just part of the exploration process. But it's the same thing. If you think about intentional living and crafting your day, and this is one of the main reasons why I added what would make today a success, because I want it to help frame the day for you. And it gets back to Benjamin Franklin's diary. I don't know if you've seen his daily schedule. I don't know if y'all seen that. I can share it, but it's lasted 200 years at this point. But he would always ask, and for his first, when he would wake up, he was like, what good am I going to do today? And then you would see his daily schedule. He'd have lunch, and then at the end of the day, it would be, what good have I done this day? And he was keeping track of it every single day. Thomas Jefferson had a very similar one. I'm a big, I love the founders. Right? They had their flaw, but they were innovators as well. Anyway, and so I think the question for how you start your day can help, because it gets to visualization, which can help prime your mind for when you do come across some stimuli that happens during the day. You're prepared to say no, which is almost half the battle.
Yeah. Priming is a big ordeal. I know that was where my grad school thesis work was, but we were priming people for, to benefit from analogies during creative problem solving. And, it's interesting because there's so much research along those lines of, well, analogies are beneficial sometimes, or analogies can be beneficial here, but nobody can point to what makes a good analogy, what at least I haven't looked into it, so this could have changed in the past 4 years. But what that looks like, what mechanism allows them to benefit from that analogy, and how they end up incorporating it. Is it a long distance analogy from a different domain? Is it a close domain analogy? And there's research that points at both, for both close and far domain analogies. And so it's really an interesting question of, okay, well, how do we go ahead and ensure that people benefit from this priming? And from what it sounds like is you found at least one mechanism that works in terms of what does success look like for today, because it does get us thinking in that manner of, okay, well, if I can do this and this, then things are going to be good, and then I've got those small victories, but I remember one of the big things on social media years ago was just start with making your bed, because that's your first victory for the day. And maybe there's something, I don't know, I've been making my bed.
Yeah. But it's something too, just getting the ball rolling. And it can be small things. It could be putting away the dishes. It could be making your bed. It can be, it gets back to Atomic Habits by James Clear. He breaks it down. If you have a habit, if you want to build a habit of working out every day, maybe just go to the smallest possible action to get you started, which is just put your shoes on. Put your running shoes on, or your workout shoes, or whatever, or your workout clothes, and make it easy to achieve.
Yeah, I was going to say, as with your Navy experience, that's the whole point why they make you guys get up at a certain time. Your bed must be made at a certain time, so that way by 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whenever, it keeps you on a schedule to get the day rolling, so you have a productive day by the end of the day.
Yeah. You can't. Punctuality is enforced. 15 minutes early is on time, and if you're on time for something, you are late.
Yep.
And there's consequences to that, and you feel it. And so it's interesting. I was, because we're rolling out our Teams features for small businesses, or we're about to roll it out, I should say. And I was just having this conversation with one of my co-founders. I was like, ADHD in the workplace, it manifests differently, because the accountability mechanisms are built in. Your accountability partner is your boss. And even if you're the CEO of the company, your accountability partner is your board of directors and your customers. And y'all know this as entrepreneur, like nothing is going to hit you harder than reality if you don't have growth. And so it's like, well, so intentional living is almost the workplace, I think, just builds it in. Well, I should say, if you actually care about doing good work.
Well, some people
may not care.
Right. Yeah, that's it. It's interesting because now now we're getting more into structure, which can really help guide that intention. And I know I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it was a couple of seasons ago, and Carlos just looks at me and he goes, so basically you want everybody to live the autistic lifestyle. And I'm like, no. I'm just saying that structure is super helpful for getting these things going. I know I personally lived without a lot of structure when I was younger, and it never did me any favors. And now everything is pretty structured, and I've developed kind of this. It's almost like a hot swap kind of thing, but everything looks relatively the same. But then I can make those minor adjustments so that it's not just clear blue sky every single day. And what are we going to do today, Timmy? Well, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this.
Right. No, rigid structure sometimes, this happens a lot. You think about something, a good idea hits you, you finally solved a long-standing problem, and you got to switch.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that happens to me daily, actually. And so that runs in the face of rigid structure. And maybe that's my problem with ADHD. And I run with those too much.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like a tightrope you're walking.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And that's why we began developing what we developed, because we somewhere throughout, I don't even remember, it was season 2, 3, maybe 4. I don't remember exactly. But it was talking about instilling constraints. The more constraints that we can add, and I'm not talking about you need 100.5 million constraints in your life in order to make it work, but you need a couple in order to determine that hierarchy, to figure out that structure, to then be able to figure out, okay, well, this is my intention for the day. It's just getting down, breaking down those layers and coming deeper down. And those self-imposed constraints are much better than the external constraints, because the external constraints are kind of what you're talking about with the with work and stuff like that. They instill those for us so that we can go ahead and do our thing. But especially with ADHD, that can go south really quickly, because, well, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do. So you have fun. I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it only got me into trouble a few times.
If you do that at work, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Only a few times.
Yeah.
More so with school than work, but every once in a while.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it is all good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different, and with AI, it's so difficult to predict the future. And there's a Jeff Bezos quote where, instead of trying to predict all the things that are going to change, focusing on the things that aren't going to change. It's kind of related to the do things that don't scale, but Bezos was talking about some of his early important decision making with Amazon. And this is late 90s, early 2000s, and they were just growing, and he was actually under a tremendous amount of debt at that point. And he said people are always going to want their stuff delivered faster. They're always going to want lower prices, and so he just anchored himself to these principles that are just evergreen. And I think that's for Actimate. That's what I'm trying to do as well. Everyone doesn't want to look back and regret how they spent their time. But then how can you do that in a way where it doesn't feel rigid, and it's more of just a nice partner or guide to help you as time progresses, you feel good about it.
I came across it yesterday, or not yesterday, but in the past week. And somebody was talking about how you really don't need any passion in order to, or you don't need to be following your passion in order to be an entrepreneur and start a business. And I'm like, I'm gonna level with you. If I wasn't doing something that I enjoyed, that I thought was worthwhile, there is not a chance in hell I would be working this hard to make
right.
this happen. I know I had a lot of conversations with my original co-founder who ended up leaving. He's like, but what's the point of me doing this? And I'm like, dude, I don't know what the point of you doing this is. I can only tell you that for me, I wouldn't be doing anything else. I don't want to be doing anything else. You mentioned workaholic and things like that and enjoying what you're doing. Yeah, I work a lot, but I wouldn't trade what I currently do for the world. I've had a lot of crummy jobs in my lifetime, and even though I'm working more than I ever have, this has by far been the best one that I've ever gotten to experience.
It's fulfilling. And that's part of the hard thing about being an entrepreneur is you receive this doubt from your friends, your family, maybe even your co-founders.
Yeah.
And it's like, you really need to be anchored to your why. You have a strong enough purpose.
Yep.
And you're totally right. I think a lot of the discussion around work it's been so warped. There's this this not to get I don't want to get political, but a lot of the discussion I see it revolves around capitalism and socialism and communism. I think it's focused on the wrong. They're focused on more things around productivity and workers' rights and distribution of resources and wealth. But I think it's focused on for me, if you want to I think wealth is downstream. Maybe this is too, rose-colored glasses, but I think wealth is downstream by how many people you help and you impact. And that's ultimately what being an entrepreneur is about. You're seeking out to help people with the problem they have. Now, sometimes you may not agree with the problem.
Right.
That might be some evil purposes. That might be, they might have some addiction that you're trying to keep them addicted on or get them even more addicted, and it's profitable. But in general, I'm on the same. I want to help 1 million people with ADHD. And if I'm successful at that, obviously there's going to be a lot of wealth from helping 1 million people. Helping 1 million people is not easy. Helping 1,000 people isn't easy. To get them to return 1,000, what's Tim Ferriss saying? Just get 1,000 true followers.
Yeah.
That was
a big deal.
That's actually really hard.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was, I forget. I had a conversation with somebody the other week, and I was talking about, because when I came out of high school, I was working at an outpatient center for kids with suffering from drug addiction and mental health issues, and it's super cool. I loved doing it. I loved even afterwards, I would go and volunteer and show up and try to kind of help out even after I technically got fired from that job, but that's another story. Wasn't due to performance. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
No. It was super awesome to do, but you may get to one person out of the 30 that revolve in and out of that treatment center. And that's if you're lucky, because not everybody wants the help that you have to offer in the first place. But if you're looking at a local level, there's only so many people that you will ever be able to help in that moment.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about software and digital and how connected we are, is you can help people all across the world, and it's not limited to just the people that are there.
Well, that's why I have such a problem with getting back to the passion. And some people just view their jobs as, oh, this is my 9 to 5. This is how but it's like, even with my day job, which I love doing, I think I would be connected to the problem that you're working on. And some problems, if you solve it, you're going to make way more money than others. But I think the right question is, what problem gets you excited in the morning to work on and to wake up? And then are you prepared to do the work necessary to actually solve that problem for people? Some problems are just enormous, and it means you need to have an enormous amount of effort. There might be a humongous learning curve. And then people they're staying at the bottom of Mount Everest looking up like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it was interesting because you mentioned my one of my least favorite people, and I don't know why. It's nothing personal with Simon Sinek. It's just his videos, the way he carries himself just bothers me. It is what it is. He's got some really great ideas.
I kind of agree.
I love the idea of starting with why, because it's super duper important.
Yes.
I'm never going to discredit a word that he's actually said, but it's just something about it. Whatever.
At least for me, he can be a little too touchy-feely, a little too wrapped up in the emotions of things. But I'm just not that way. I'm just not wired that way where I need to, I don't know.
Right. No, I'm a little more logical, and I got to kind of understand the thought processes behind it. It makes sense. But then once you have that why, then the question becomes, well, is this actually worth it for me to be pursuing? Because the scale of the challenge, I know our guiding thesis is really to eliminate unnecessary suffering from mental health issues. That's always been our guiding goal since we started. It's quite lofty. It's some of the hurdles that we've had to jump have been exponentially harder than what I was originally expecting, but never at any moment in time while doing that was I like, well, this isn't worth it. I guess I better go stop trying. Because for me, at least to me, if that's not the case going forward, then everything that I experienced as a kid, which I'm not telling you were the worst things in the world. People definitely went through much worse than I ever did. But that specific set of experiences all led me to here. I should make use of those in some way, shape, or form. And without them, or without that process going forward, it really just makes everything extremely trivial. And then you're like, well, what the heck am I doing? And you can quickly spiral deep down real quick.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just you find that thing and go and get there. And from what it sounds like, is exactly what you're doing with Actimate.
It's just and there's been some jobs I hate. I worked for some restaurants, and I liked the people I worked with, but I hated the stress of it. Like, working in a kitchen at a restaurant is so unenjoyable for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. And there's plenty of jobs like that. But I was also a janitor while I was in the Navy, and I did that before going and doing my day job.
Mm-hmm.
That was downright unenjoyable. And the reasons were just, I want some extra money so I can travel to see my girlfriend, who's not my wife.
Yep.
And so it's hard to get attached to that problem, but there's still pride in your work.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm trying to think back to what I was going to say is, I think if you're not attached to the problem, at least for me, I've always been attached to the people I work with and doing right by them. Because if you care about them, and you can't help, you spend so much time with some people during the week, you're going to develop a relationship. And then getting back to ADHD, you don't want to let them down. Although sometimes maybe you are in a place where you just absolutely hate your coworkers and your boss.
It's only happened a couple of times.
Yeah. That goes out the window then.
Yeah, right.
So if you're in a place where you hate the problem and you don't like your team, you might want to find another spot to go to work at.
Things are pretty dark at that point.
Yeah.
No, I've been in those situations a couple of times, so I get it, and I got out of there as fast as I possibly could once that became the.
Thank you so much. That's the episode.
If something is still ruminating, that's the specific thing one inactive session is built for. The session link is at theinactive.com.
If it was worth your time, subscribe. New episode every week for this season.
And there is a question waiting for you in the comments. Answer if you feel so inclined.
We read them.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.